welcome back to the Lame Book Club podcast. I'm Ellie.
And I'm Melissa.
And today we are talking about Fourth Wing, Part 2.
Chapters 21 through 39.
Yeah. Do you know what episode this is?
This is 15. Episode 15.
Okay.
That's crazy.
That's a big deal.
It doesn't feel like there's been 15. It feels like there's been 6.
I was going to say like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. To start off, have there been any like trends on Instagram that you've seen that have really caught your eye? Because if not, I have one.
You can go first.
The Uncanny Valley Trend, where people are like doing their makeup.
You said that, and the first thing I thought of was Hidden Valley Ranch.
No.
I don't know what you're talking about because ranch was the first thing.
You know what Uncanny Valley is?
No, I have no idea. I literally don't know what you're talking about.
It's okay. So it's like when you see things that look like people, but they're not really people, and it's unsettling to you. I'll give you examples. So like ghosts? No, but it's unsettling to you because it's like it's close enough to a human, but it's not. So like animatronics. Like how they look like people, but they're not. And so you're like, I don't like that. Like there's just something off.
So like, is it popular right now because of the Friday Night at Freddy's movie?
No.
Oh.
It's not specifically to animatronics.
Well, I know, but I mean like
anything.
That maybe like resurfaced.
No, it can be anything, and it's been around for a while. But I've heard a theory on Uncanny Valley that like in the beginning of time, aliens time. Dressed up as human, like when aliens like dressed up as humans and then like destroyed humans or something like that. And so instinctively in us, when we see something that looks like a human but it's not, it's very unsettling because there's really no reason for us to be like, I hate that.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I don't really get unsettled unless it's like a shadowy, like I think it's like a shadow.
You would be unsettled by these.
Animatronics don't bother me.
No, not specifically animatronics.
Well, you brought that up, so now that's all I'm thinking about.
Anything that looks like a human but is not a human. Like it could look like me but just have like really tiny eyes or something. Like that's unsettling and it's creepy.
Okay.
Ugh, I'll just show you the trend later. This is outrageous. But to be clear, not just animatronics.
Thank you. I don't know why. I'm sure I'd be unsettled by it, but I'm having a really hard time. I got animatronics in my head, so I'm just having a really hard time thinking of anything else.
Pulled up for you. It's okay.
No, it's fine. It's me. It's not you. It's me. I just am stuck on the animatronics thing, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. You lost me. I don't like them, but they don't like freak me out. They would freak me out if it was in a Friday Night at Freddy's situation where it's like dark in the room and they're. All right.
Okay. Let's talk about books now. Something we both get.
Something we can both understand.
I really saw that going a different way. I saw you being like, that does creep me out. Yes, we would really like.
I wish that's how it happened.
It's okay.
But it didn't. Wow. All right. Fourth Wing, Part 2. I know I said this last episode. I'm really loving talking about this, so I'm really excited to talk about the second half of the book.
Mm-hmm. The second half is both where it picks up and I was like, I love this book, and also where I was like, I'm not into this anymore.
I loved all of the first half of the book. Mm-hmm. There were my favorite part of the book is in the second half too, but there's also parts of the second half where I felt a little like maybe a little bit slower for me, but not really. Like there wasn't any part of this book where I'm like, not unnecessary, but I'm like, okay, that could have been like either written differently or maybe not even included. Mm-hmm. I felt like that like a couple of times in like during ACOTAR, like different parts of the book where I'm like, this is just it's really hard for me to read this part. I'm just very few of those, but I didn't feel like that at any part in this book. It just, you can only like build up so much. At some point it's gonna either plateau or like, keep going. So I think the whole first half of the book was like the build up, and I was like, I'm loving this. And then it kind of.
I specifically remembered thinking, I love how many reveals there are.
Yeah.
It was the reveal of like, what boy are you into? Then it was the reveal of what the next challenge is. And the reveal of what dragon do you get? Are you gonna bond? And the reveal of your signet. Or are you ever gonna get power channeled to you? Like all of that.
And then like after that, it's like, okay, for like a hot second, they're just going to class. It's just Violet and Xaden like back and forth kind of thing. Dane's still being annoying. And then there's more of that. But so like there is a hot second where it's like we don't have anything where we're like 100% building up to. And so I think, there's a little bit in there. But, I mean, there doesn't need to be.
No.
There are, like, it calls for that at times. I don't want to be like.
Written just for me, there does need to be. But
yeah,
it doesn't need to be.
All right. So where we pick up, though, in this is. So Violet just got attacked in her room while she was asleep, even though it's against the codex. Amber got incinerated for the crime, capital punishment.
It's terrible.
So Xaden gives Liam asks Liam to essentially be, Violet calls him her shadow, bodyguard, whatever. Moves him into their squad, moves him to the room right next to hers. And at first she's like, you've got to be kidding me. But eventually Liam grew on her just like he grew on all of us. And we love Liam. I love Liam. I
loved the like flirty personality he had with everybody.
I know. Well, I love it. He was just so nice. Like and Violet even says this at one point in the book. Like he is the best out of all of them. He's the strongest. He's fast. Like he is top tier in their class, but he doesn't act like it. But like he still was just kind and stuff. And I'm like, oh. Those are the best kind of people. Like, they're good at everything, and they're there to help you, but they don't act like they are.
Yeah. I like a good humble person.
Yeah. Well, and so I remember I tried, but because we waited so long to read this book, I tried so hard to not see anything online. And I remember seeing, like, fan art of Liam. But I'm like, I'm not reading anything. So I thought that was Dane at first because I hadn't read the book. I don't know what these people look like.
Yeah.
And so I had this picture of Dane, and then I realized before I started reading the book that it wasn't Dane, but I didn't know who it was.
How do you picture Dane? I tend to just like skip over all descriptions, I guess, in every book I ever read.
Honestly, me too. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I picture him as kind of looking like Joe from You.
A lot different.
Well, because I think I know. Well, she says he's normally clean shaven, but then he has a little bit of stubble, kind of. At one point. So
I picture him as like a blonde.
Oh, you picture him being blonde?
Like Josh Hutcherson in Hunger Games, blonde.
Peeta Malak.
No,
he's not blonde to me. Is he? I can't remember his character description.
I don't think he is blonde because I saw a fan art of him and he had dark hair, and that's when I was like, man, I really don't pay attention to descriptions.
I'm looking up a picture of him, like fan art. Oh, I was not actually too far off based on these fan art pictures. Here's one.
Not at all to me.
Yeah.
It looks a lot better than what I was picturing.
Honestly. Ew, the caption on this is Dane, ... need I say more, ? Yes, you do, because I'm... if what you're implying is true, I need you to explain. Anyways, so I didn't realize that the... like blonde hair, blue-eyed guy that I was seeing was Liam.
Oh, okay.
And then I don't know. I mean, in fantasy world, generally the blonde hair, blue-eyed guy is either the villain or like just someone who's like not that's a good no point. One you like.
What's up with that? I guess we don't like blonde hair, blue-eyed guy. I think I think because for so long that was the typical like height of beauty maybe for the male lead, like, oh, he has blue eyes and blonde hair, whatever.
What, like in like early thousands rom-coms kind of?
Yeah, maybe, or even earlier than that. So now it's like, oh, we're going for the morally gray, dark hair, dark eyes.
I think I don't know, for me it's just like it's implied if someone's morally gray, it's like a dark. I don't know.
Well, but in the not Caraval, but the ones that come after, like Once Upon a Broken Heart and stuff like that, the main character has blonde hair, blue eyes. So maybe we're just
not
wrong.
All of them.
Maybe just the past two books we've read, they have dark hair, and we're like, what is this?
I think like at the risk of making everyone, Zeke over here, cringe, shadow daddies. He just rolled his eyes. You can't be a shadow daddy and not be like,
I don't like it.
I love it.
Okay.
Anyways, Liam, what did you think of his backstory when he opens up with Farah? Or not Farah, Violet.
Oh, I wouldn't.
I made the mistake.
I was like, yeah. I loved it. I love that their friendship just kept growing, and I loved seeing their relationship grow. So there had to be a lot of trust where they do open up to each other. So I loved that he shared a lot, especially about like, oh, I owe Xaden everything.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what, like, I mean, because Xaden's not opening up. Yeah. At this point. Yeah. With Violet,
which makes you kind of like Liam more because he trusts her more.
He trusts her, but we're also learning more about Xaden as we learn more about Liam too. I thought it was sweet. I thought it was really sweet how he just like is always he doesn't overstep or overshare on what he like Xaden's personal life and stuff. He's only sharing like his experience, but like we're still Xaden's involved.
I like a good respectful guy that shares only their secrets and their stuff and doesn't like overstep.
I know. And others. I just like because then Xaden or Liam's also on library duty with Violet, and I like that he's just like he's so helpful too. He's not just like
oh, I hate to be here, I have to bodyguard you, but like he's
and even if it's like even if Xaden asked him as a favor, sure, but like he's like still I'm 110% gonna do what I'm here to do.
And I loved that he not only has just started getting along with Violet, but like their whole little first year gang, Rhiannon and Riddick and all of them. He just blends right in, and they're all friends and they're all laughing together. I love that. I love the high school hallway friend group.
Honestly, because even though I know it's a war college, I think it's just because it reminds me so much of Harry Potter. I know they're like 20, but in my mind they're like 15.
That surprised me.
I feel like most are
fantasy authors set like 17, 18.
Yeah.
I know
and I like that Xaden's only 23.
I know. I was like, I kind of know we like talked about representation, but there's not a lot of like older or like mid-aged characters in fantasy books, I feel like.
I would say like, mid-age is like 40.
Well, there's no mid-young age. So it was nice to be like, oh, he's 23. I'm near that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't mind like when, I don't know, it's not hard for me to wrap my head around someone being 500 and like a 19.
Fine, but when they're like, oh, I'm 16 years old, gonna turn 17, I honestly do like disconnect a little bit from that character because I'm like, couldn't be me.
Yeah. When I was 16, I was still making music videos at home on my camera. So I was not even remotely in a place to be saving the world or like fighting battles, riding dragons, like, even though she's 16, 20.
Terrible.
I was cheerleading at 16. So not the same.
Not the same.
But anyway, so then they're like doing library duty together, and the scroll falls off, and it opens up a little bit. So Violet just like reads part of it, and then lets Liam read it. What did you think? Like at that point, then when they went back to class and they
didn't say anything about this.
Yeah, like they begin the brief, but then like information that they're saying directly conflicts with the information that Violet saw.
I don't think it directly conflicted. It just wasn't what they had read. It was like, oh, we're going to talk about a war that was years ago, and what do we learn from this instead of what's currently happening. And so that I guess sent off some like warning bells to her that why aren't we talking about this? I knew that was going to be a lot of foreshadowing for the main issue in this book, but I did not understand, so I just read on.
At this point, I'm like thinking ahead. I'm like trying to think of all these like theories, like how is this going to end? I know there's 4 more books, so like what direction are we heading in?
You're like really big on predicting. I'm very big on I'm just going to keep reading. I don't know. I don't want to know, and I'm not going to try to guess.
I'm not very big on it, but I was trying with this one. And I assumed, just based on like little things, and this is what really confirmed it for me, that the like leadership, I don't want to say leadership because I don't think necessarily even like all the wing leaders kind of would be involved in it, but like high up, like the General Milgram, her mom, like all those people are corrupt. I don't know if I think all the professors are in on it. I think some of them are just blinded by like the information that they're hearing. But I figured that they were all shady and like I didn't know exactly what I thought, but I kind of assumed it would be like at some point Violet would learn that the separatists, like what they were wanting was actually true or was actually like
they did. I'm not like a big predictor, but when it's blaringly obvious, my mind can't help but go there. But I did think that the separatists and their rebellion was going to end up being validated some way, and that Violet was going to end up joining them. Yeah, that was like they were screaming that at me.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm like, I'm not like, oh, this is like something no one else sees coming.
Probably had to do something with that, but
like, I do think like the leadership knows like way more than what's going on, and it's not that they're like intentionally like suppressing information. I also, this comes out in the second half of the book, the fact that they like keep bringing up the folklore, but
that I did not know, and I was like, okay, truly what I thought was that there were 2 books, because she said, there's normally multiple copies in the library, that she would have had one book and Xaden would have had the other, and she would have been like, oh, you read this too? That's what I thought that was going to be. So
I didn't think it was that
surprising how it all played out.
I think I would have thought that if they didn't bring it up in the way that they did, but like they kept like referencing it, and then at one point, like you said, like there's supposed to be multiple copies of things, and there weren't. The scribes had in the archives there was nothing about this, and she's like, that's so weird, because it's not just like political stuff that they have, like they're supposed to have copies of every book in the history, their history, and so I'm like, okay, the fact that this is missing, I was like, I feel like they're hiding it on purpose, and they're trying to like erase part of the history.
You're so skeptical. I'm like, oh, someone checked it out.
There's 21 days for this person to have it. We'll check back in.
Come back in 21 days.
But, and then, so all of that, like, I was already, like, starting to, like, kind of question that. So then when this happened, I was like, oh my gosh, they're dirty. The government's corrupt.
It's all this 5G and AI.
5G and AI. Everyone's out for them. So then, moving on, Violet's inner thoughts about Xaden are growing and growing. Like before all this, but then the night when Tairn starts channeling through her, and she almost falls over the edge. First with Liam, and then Xaden.
I thought that was such a funny scene.
I loved it.
I know.
I love that of course she like is trying to get away. Just she doesn't do something she regrets.
To pull off,
and then naturally runs into Xaden. And I love that he's smoking to like try and like shut out. I mean, he's better at it than she is, but like just to try and shut out everything else.
It was interesting though to learn like how strong the dragon's connections were with people, that like if they can't shut out the dragons, that they feel every emotion the dragon feels too.
I like
intense.
Well, I mean, their bond has to be intense if it's so strong that at some point like the other person, dragon included, would die.
I kind of wish they would have gone into that a little more, because they talk about like you know, that bond's so crazy, what you were saying, that the dragon would die or the human would die, but they don't really like. Tairn's relationship with Violet to this point has been, you know, oh, you old grump, and he's like, stay on the back, like it's not like some deep connection that we see where they're opening up to each other and you're like, oh, I love their relationship. Like, you love it because it's funny, but it's very, to me, surface level. I wish she would have really dove in deep so you could see like, he would die without her and she would die without him. They love each other so much, that kind of thing.
Well, we have 4 more books.
I know.
And I don't think he would die at this point. I mean, I know the bond gets stronger every single time, but gosh, at this point, they've only been bonded for like a couple days. The threshing just happened. Like, so, or what, not a couple days. It's been a few months.
Full book, though.
It's been a few months.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, and I do agree. I mean, people get, I don't want to, we'll talk about that towards the end. But I also thought it was so funny. We just kind of touched on that. I like that it was, like you said, like it was both ways. It's not just okay, well, when Tairn wanted to talk to her, he just opened up, like, he could talk to her or whatever, and then she can talk to him, but, like, we knew that he knew what she was feeling because he would just randomly pop in and be like, go get him, or, like, whatever. Also, side note, I really regret listening to part of this with an audiobook because the voice actor that did his voice, I think if I had been reading it, don't get me wrong, like, he's grumpy, like, I would have absolutely taken it that way, but she made it seem like he was just pissed 24/7. And I do think he's very snarky. He's a snarky dragon.
You have to be so careful with audiobooks. I know. And I was going to
I've never really listened to an audiobook before this, though. So
I was going to bring this up last podcast, but I was listening to this book called Eleanor and Park. I think it's pretty popular.
I've heard of it, yeah.
It's cute, but it's okay. It's in the perspective of both the boy and the girl as they meet and talk. Yeah. I listened to it on audiobook. They change narrators for the boy and the girl, but then there's sometimes where it's like in his perspective, like he's talking to the girl.
Yes, and so he still has to do a girl inflection.
When the girl was like talking for the boy, she just talked in her normal voice. You can kind of picture, like, you know, you can use your own imagination for that. But when the man talked in the girl's voice, it was, hi, how are you? It was so unbearable.
Well, to give the voice actor some credit, I mean, there's lots of characters in this. You kind of have, when you stick with do a voice, you kind of have to stick with it for that character. But this girl was having to do Violet. She's Xaden, Dane, Liam, Tairn, and the other I can't remember the small dragon. Andarna, thank you.
Didn't they just made like a audiobook for ACOTAR where they used a bunch of voice actors?
I wish that it had been different people for each of these. I really think it would have been a lot easier.
I didn't have the budget for that. I bet that's a really like expensive thing to do.
I truly have no idea, so I'm not even gonna.
I would do it for free if you want to.
I don't think anyone
voice that. I'm not like the best reader out loud. It would be a lot of takes, but I would do it.
They were like, she did really good at Violet.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed. I think like she encompassed the emotion well for Violet, but some of the other characters, I'm like, I'm so into the book, and then like Tairn, I like didn't like the way she did it, and he'd be like, yeah, you didn't do that right, or whatever. And I'd be so into it, and then I'd be like, you lost me. I'm done. I can't get back into this.
Last one, The Selection. Have you read that?
No.
It's like an olden days Bachelor. It's actually such a good series. I love The Selection. So I've read it, but then I also wanted to listen to it on audiobook, like as I'm working or whatever. The narrator for that, the most monotone voice you'd ever hear. She walked into the room, and then it was so it ruined a lot for me. I was like, I don't know about all this.
You have to be really careful when selecting voice actors.
The takeaway from this: be careful selecting your voice actors to the authors, and be careful reading audiobooks to the readers.
There you go.
Listening.
Hot takes and business suggestions with Ellie and Melissa.
You get it all here.
But I like how I don't think we talked about this last episode. I might get hate for this, but I'm going to say it anyways. And if I did talk about it, I apologize for not remembering. I don't like that he called her violence.
We never said this. I also don't like that he calls her violence.
I
like in the end of the book, he uses it way too much. Like, he stops saying her name. He just only calls her violence.
Like, I get it. It's like a thing.
No, it's not.
Like, I
don't like it.
I like the sentiment, but something about that word in particular.
Yes.
It's
at the end. I truly mean that. It's the like, you know how in The Office he's like, murder is such a menacing word. You don't call it muck duck. Like, it's this. It's like violence is like. I think
for me, I think it's just, it's not like I said, the sentiment's endearing, but it's not an endearing word. So it's not like even in other books or like Reese, I mean, like, you're a terrifying, or not Reese, but you think you're such a vicious little creature. Like, vicious is different to me or whatever. Mm-hmm. And like, I like that, but then be like, there's violence. That's kind of like how I feel with that word. And so
scare.
It goes from being like, hey, I don't want to yell it again, but you know, like, oh, so violence. Like, that's kind of like,
I don't see it like that. I hear it like way more smooth, but it just,
I
there's no
know
other
he's
way. I know
trying
I
to be
say this a
smooth.
lot, but there's no other way to say this. It gives me the ick.
It did. That's what it did for me too.
If he would have used it like once or twice, like as their thing, where I mean, it is their thing, but if he would have used it like like just between them two when they're talking in their head or something, like,
yeah,
hey, violence or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that he says it out loud so many
That's
times,
true.
stops using her name, and I'm like, her name is Violet.
Yeah.
Like, that's to me would be more intimate when they're doing whatever, like fighting or anything, than like constantly calling her Violence.
I know.
Hot take, not a fan.
I know. I just don't even like saying that because I really like the intention, like I said, behind it. Mm-hmm. I like that he was like flirty and trying to be like cute about it or whatever. And I mean, she earned it. Mm-hmm. Like, she was doing the things, like, but I don't know. It's just like that word choice in particular. And hey, no author is going to hit it for every single, there's always going to be things that some people like and some people don't. I'm glad
I'm just
that some people like this.
I have a mic in front of me. If anyone was like, how do you like it? Love it. It was great. Yeah. Well, we'll get into it. I might not say that actually.
But I don't know. I just like, and then I like that, so getting off my soapbox, back to what we were talking about with this scene, then she's able to she figures out how to ground herself really and like block him out mostly, cool. Like really quickly. I thought that was cool.
I did like that she's like, I'm not good at mostly anything, because she was like the last one to be able to do the gauntlet and the challenges and all that, but she was really good at
the mental aspects, because that's her brain. She's strong. She's smart. Like, her brain can do it. But then finally they smoochy kiss.
Oh yeah, it was the first time.
This is right here. Finally.
The smoochy kiss.
This is a slow burn, this book, and I loved it.
That's where you and I part ways, my friend.
I love the slow burn because I know this is a long game for me. I know there's, like I said, 4 more books. So if they took this entire first book to build that, I'm cool with it. If this was only one book, I'd be like, you're kidding me? There's 39 chapters and you waited until chapter 30 for something to really happen? Okay. But this is a long game, Ellie.
I actually felt like it happened too fast.
Really?
Believe it or not.
Well, no, see, I disagree, because this happens earlier, but okay, so they start making out a little bit here, and then he stops it.
The kiss, actually, I didn't think happened too fast. I got excited. I was like, oh, finally. Everything after that was too quick for me.
Disagree strongly, because okay, so they make out a little bit right here. He stops it because he's like, this isn't what you want. You're just feeling whatever. And I think part of that was true, but then also part of it wasn't true, because we know how she's been thinking for the last few chapters. Yeah. And then whatever, like, then he's a boy and like doesn't even bring it up. They don't talk about it for a while. But then it's just kind of like back and forth. I mean, I really think if Violet hadn't have been the way that she was, it would have taken even longer for...
I'm just going to be so honest. I think I'm realizing that the last book series I read, it took like 2 or 3 books for the slow burn to finally like make a connection. And so for it to all have happened within one book, it was too quick for me. I was like, it just seemed like you could have spread this whole relationship out more.
Think about, though, I don't want to spend this whole episode comparing it again. Yeah. But because actually at this point is where it stops even being comparable for me. But thinking about ACOTAR, not even the first book, because Reese is like hardly even a character in the first book.
I know with Tamlin, but something was different.
I'm talking about A Court of Mist and Fury.
Oh, okay.
This is essentially how the difference is. There didn't need to be a lot of world building because the first book did that.
But they took 2 books for Mist and Fury.
But they didn't.
They did.
No, because Reese is hardly in the first book.
But she still knew of him, and still... No, because Under the Mountain, that's where they really started establishing...
That's like the last third of the book.
But it was still part of the first book.
That's what I'm saying. They start establishing it there. Then they start in the very beginning of the book, they start establishing it. Feyre starts... They both are very obviously flirting with each other, for sure, by the middle of the book. So
the only comparison I will allow for this is... Feyre and Tamlin, because I was on board for their relationship in the first book, and that was over one book, and I really was into
it. It started, happened, and ended in one book.
Me, I don't know. It didn't hit it for me. I just felt different. I thought it was like such a slow burn, and then they kissed, and then it was like all like we're going.
But that's not how it happened. What Fourth Wing version did you read?
That is exactly how it happened. No,
so they kiss.
Sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry.
They kissed. Then they hardly even talk to each other.
For like a week.
Yes, and then they finally start talking, but it's not about that. And then Violet keeps like pushing and pushing, and I keep saying Feyre and Reese. Violet keeps pushing and pushing, and Xaden is like, nope. Yeah. And then they kind of talk about it, and he's like, no, you don't know me, you're not gonna like me, whatever.
I understand.
And then they keep fighting it for a long time.
Yeah.
And then
not a long time though.
A while, and then he kisses her to get her to go on the dragon.
Yes.
But he only has a distraction. Again, back to, you don't know me, you won't like me.
Yeah.
We can't go there, it's not good. And she's like, can't tell me what to do. This is what I want. And he's just like, no. And literally, nothing happens until chapter 30.
It's
at 39.
Okay. Cultural differences.
All right.
It was too quick for me.
So, back to the outline that I put together.
Yeah, read me my next, the next question.
Violet puts Liam in a really difficult situation when she asks him not to tell Xaden that she knows she's going to be challenged by Jack.
Oh, yeah.
If you were Liam, do you think that you would have kept it to yourself as long as he did? Because, eventually, like, as they're walking there, she's like, fine, go ahead, you can tell him, because I know he's not even going to be able to get here in time.
It's hard. Knowing the, like, situation of...
No, you. You're not... It's you.
Yeah, knowing the situation of if Violet dies, Xaden would die, and I owe him everything, yes, I would say something.
However...
But I also wouldn't be like, no, I can't.
That's just a theory.
I wouldn't keep the promise.
That's just a theory.
But it's a very likely
It's a very likely theory.
So I wouldn't risk it.
So you would have told him.
Like, if it was you and, like, someone was... like, someone that I'm friends with, but not as good as friends with you... Or, I'm
tracking.
Yeah, I wouldn't be like, oh, yeah, I won't tell her like, she'll probably live. No, I would say something.
Here's what I would think if I were in his situation. I wouldn't have said anything.
Yeah.
But I would have made Violet, like, let me step in or something. Like, I would have honored that because
maybe that's
they are friends. I mean, and he is proving like he owes everything to Xaden, but he's still friends with her, and he wants to respect that because he's a respectable guy.
Yeah. Liam is my favorite character in this book. I would like to point that out.
Liam's top 3 for me.
Who's your first?
Xaden.
And second?
Violet. No, Violet's my favorite, then Xaden.
Predictable.
Obviously.
For me, Liam, then Tairn, then Andarna. Then Xaden, then...
Tairn's your second favorite?
I love him.
He's so grumpy.
That's because you listen to his grumpy
That's
voice.
True.
In my head, he wasn't that grumpy.
That definitely ruined Tairn a little bit for me, I'm not gonna lie. But Tairn's your second, and then Andarna. You like Andarna and Tairn more than Violet?
Yeah.
I loved Violet.
Why? Why did you connect so much?
Here's why I loved her. This second half of the book... did not, like, she knew herself. She knew what she wanted.
I did like that.
And she was not going to let even the person who was, like, saying, I'm not going to, like, no, I'm not going to open up. She wasn't like, oh, but I might get my heart broken. She's like, you know what, I might, but I'm going to try. And, like, she's like, you'll never know if you don't try. I just love that she knew exactly what she wanted. And she went for it every single time.
Again, I like that miscommunication was not a thing for her.
And I think that's my biggest thing with... I never connected with Feyre. I'm not as bold as Violet. I'm not going to sit here and say, like, I would have done the same thing. Because I'm just a girl.
Just a girl.
Just a girl. But I could never connect with Feyre because of that. Like, she felt all the same strong emotions as Violet. But then when it came to... Yes. When it came to doing that...
big, like, horrible thing is when she didn't tell Tamlin that she loved him, could have broken the curse and everything all right there, but she kept it in because she was like, but she's like,
but what if he doesn't like me?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm just like, I act like that in real life. I don't want to read about it. I like reading about people who know and do what they want. Like,
yeah.
Because it gives me something to aspire towards.
Yeah. I liked Violet. I just didn't, like, adore her character.
I, like, truly, she's one of my favorite FMCs.
Really?
Yeah, genuinely.
I actually think I even liked Rhiannon more than...
I really liked Rhiannon, but not more than
I really
Violet.
hope they don't do some kind of like... Well, when we get to the end, I'll repeat this.
Okay. I think I know where you're going, and I have thoughts on that too.
Okay.
But, all right, well, good to know that you would have ignored her wishes and said something to Xaden. During the squad challenges, Violet leads her squad to steal a map from her mom's office. Your mom was a teacher at our school.
Yeah.
Growing up, granted, she was a teacher at the elementary school.
Yeah. So she was nice. If we're making parallels, my mom was
I'm
so
absolutely
nice.
not. Well, yeah, if we're going to compare, Casey is not General Sorrengail. But if, I know it's obviously not the same that was happening here, but if, like, would you ever have stolen something from her classroom?
My mom's too nice. I just ask. She would give me literally anything. Ever.
I know. No, okay, but let's pretend she's still nice, but she wouldn't just give it to you. You had to steal it. It's like a game. We're
something
squad
she
challenges.
Cares about?
Yes, it's something she cares deeply about.
I have to think about something she cares about to really place myself. Okay. I'm picturing like my brother.
You can't, not a person. That's called kidnapping, and that is a crime.
Yeah, I would do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not destroying it. I'll give it back.
I know. I just like...
It's hard because it's not this... It's like, I'm not so terrified of my mom, and she doesn't rule a whole...
I guess you're right. That's a really bad comparison. I apologize. But I just like that this was like... One, it's her idea. I like that it wasn't someone else's. Her and like, oh, dude, we have General Sorrengail's daughter. We should go take something from her office. I like that she was the one who was like...
I like that impression.
Here's the thing.
So bro.
Here's the thing. We could actually get in a lot of trouble for doing this, but if we do this, we're so gonna win.
Yeah.
And
I think I might have skipped over like what the rules are, because I would think that is a big no amongst this school to break into.
The rules were you had to stay within
but you could do anything.
Yeah, I mean they wanted. Part of it is like
how ballsy
in war.
Yeah,
like there's no rules in war. Don't die.
There's
like,
no rules.
I think it's about they were wanting to keep it relatively contained. So you had to stay in Bad Sky, and you had to do it in 3 hours.
Yeah.
That was like...
Yeah, I love the teamwork that they used, though, to get this map.
I know. I like that they used...
all their signets and stuff.
Yeah, and like everyone's strengths to it. It was I mean, obviously it was totally a team effort.
And it was Violet's idea to go there. So it's like her mental strength. Like, she's smart. So it was her idea to go. And then it was her idea to take the map. Yeah. Also, because she saw it. She was like, this is
going to give them everything they would need to know to take us down. But I liked that Imogen was still the leader, and it wasn't. Yeah. Like, Violet's, like, all of a sudden taking over, and, like... Yeah. Because, I mean, she totally could have. Yeah.
She's grown on me.
She did. I did not like her at first. Obviously, you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
I don't think. But she does. She grew on me, too.
I love those side characters that you hate in the beginning that grow on you.
Yeah.
Like, SJM does a lot of those. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. No, Imogen definitely. I think she was, like, the only one for me, though. At least so far.
Yeah. Well, there's really no others.
Well, yeah, there's Garrick. And
they're medium though. They never did anything.
I was about to say they're not. Well, they didn't do anything to her, but they also just weren't. I think I'm kind of hoping there are bigger roles in Bodhi. I'm kind of hoping there are bigger roles. Yeah. Moving forward, and I think they will be. Yeah. Now.
I like the name Bodhi.
I also like the name Bodhi. It's a cool name. All right, so then they win because that was a badass move. They win the squad challenges. Violet is happily surprised to see her sister at the outpost that they go to.
That was the best.
I was not expecting that.
No.
And I loved it.
Might have teared up. I didn't, but I could have.
I might have, but I didn't.
Had I not been on a plane, scared to death in the sky. We say this at least once a podcast. Hate flying.
I don't think we do, but we will today. I agree.
Hate flying. So if I wasn't like just like shaking in my boots reading this, trying to like distract myself from the fact that I could plummet to my death at literally any second, I probably would have cried.
I actually wonder, I know you said we haven't talked about it yet, and I know we haven't dived into it, but you just mentioned that there were parts of this that you didn't like. I actually wonder if it had anything to do with the fact that you read it on the plane,
so
because
I had
the parts
emotional connection.
Yes, because you're just trying to like distract yourself.
It really could have been.
Because I'm really surprised that there's any part of this book that you didn't like.
Really?
This is right up your alley. So
we'll never know.
As we unpack, as we unpack, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
We'll see. Maybe I'll change your mind.
I'm all upset that I ruined the whole book for myself.
Just don't read the next one on the plane.
Fear.
When you're flying home, don't read Iron Flame.
Iron Flame on the plane, yeah.
Okay, anyways, she sees her sister. What did you think of the confrontation between Mira, Violet, Dane, and Xaden?
Oh, when Mira was like, come outside and we're all going to talk.
It's the four of them, yep.
It was funny but uncomfortable. Like, on one hand, I like that she kind of took the mom position, was like, you all need to get your act together. Yeah. But on the other hand, I'm like, you're the same age as them.
She's not.
She's like 3 years on them.
No, She
literally says, I'm 3 years your senior.
Yeah, but Violet still has 2 more years. She's 5 years older than Violet, 4 years older than Dane, and 3 years older than...
Specifically
but she's
to, like,
also
the
a
oldest
lieutenant in the...
Regardless, I was like, you're not the mom. But I did like that she told Zane, like, stay in your lane and figure yourself out. You're embarrassing yourself. Zane? Not Zane. Dane.
Dane? I can see how you got there. The leap is not far. I like that she was like, hey, Atos, this isn't you. Stop it. Like, I think this was like a reality check, I think, to some extent, for the situation. And I like that she stayed as neutral as she could have. She obviously still has very strong feelings about Xaden and doesn't trust him even remotely. And she is weary now that her sister is tied to him. Yeah. But I like that I think she did her best as she could have in that moment with no context to what's all happened. She doesn't know what her sister's thinking. She doesn't know the experiences they've had.
And Violet talks about this too. Like, a lot of the reason, the reason that they don't like Xaden at first, most people, is because they see the, tell me, what's the word?
The relic.
Yeah, the relic. Yeah. The relic. And it breaks my heart that so many people are so judgy towards all these people with relics, like the kids, when it's like, again, it wasn't their fault. And also, we'll come back, but I love that Violet kind of stands up for everyone with a relic.
If we're gonna that's like real world crap, like though. And I like that. Not always. There's some themes that I'm like, this is too much in real life. I don't want to read like subtle references to this in books. I read books to escape, not to like, you know what I mean? But I do. This is one that I like that it's a theme. Yeah. It's a theme in a lot of books, and I like that, like, this is how we should be acting for anyone in those kind of situations. And obviously, but anyways, I know I felt really bad. Yeah. For all of them too. Like you said, like, or they touch on it while they're there because Xaden is the oldest of all of them, and so as it stands, he's a third year. He still hasn't graduated yet. There aren't any separatist kids in any of the actual, I don't know, Legion. What do they call them? Are they still wings and stuff? Whatever. I don't know. There's just not any of them actually fighting alongside. So they haven't had the chance to talk to any of them, to know any of them in the same way that Violet has.
And because you don't think that through. Yeah. So I love that they pointed out, like, Mira wouldn't have had any reason to talk to these people.
Yeah. She would have had no exposure to any of them because they're all still training. Yeah. Technically. Yeah. And none of them had been called up yet for any reason. So, I guess that helped give her some grace too for the situation because, I mean, you only know what you know. You know what I mean? Like, at this point, she hasn't been able to talk with them, and she knows one side of the story. She only knows the information she's been told.
Well, even Violet kind of went in and was like,
100%
staying clear of them. Anyways,
I don't think Violet ever was like.
She was weary about them at first because
she only knows one side of the story, but she never was like, I'm gonna steer clear.
Is that she was just like, I don't know about all these people, and then she got to know them, and now she likes them.
I will say though, one thing I liked about this conversation was that kind of like she, even though she was like they're not in a relationship or anything, but like she stood up for Xaden in the areas where it's like, she's like, you look here, I get where you're coming from, but like outside of, she didn't even talk about her personal feelings. She's like, he's giving me zero reason not to trust him. When he hasn't had time, he's made time to help train me. Yeah. He's like,
but she didn't say it out loud.
No, she talked to her sister about everything that he does for her. Yeah, she does. Because her sister's like,
She says something else in her head, though.
She says a lot.
Continues on more.
Yes, because in her head is more of like the personal feelings. But
yeah. That's what it was.
She like is like, he's like, I get it. You don't try. I'm not saying you need it. Like, you don't have the same experience as I have, so I understand why you're saying this. But like, let me tell you what's been happening because you're not there. Like, I do like that, and I like that too, because they bring up the fact that they're obviously different years, but their dragons really can only be apart for, as far as they know, 3 days. So next year, even though she needs to have training.
Oh, yeah, they really bring up that conflict of what are we going to do?
And I like that he goes, I'm right here. And you think that it means because like I can hear you. Like, and then he goes, no, you're not hearing me. I'm right here. She has not had to sacrifice anything. I'm the one who left what I'm supposed to be doing to be here. So that she, and I was like, you go, Xaden. Absolutely, you're right. You are here.
Yeah.
Okay. When Xaden started talking to Violet telepathically, though, before this in the meeting, it obviously reminded me a lot of Rhys and Feyre, which gave me even like a nostalgic feeling. It reminded me of when they like send notes to each other.
Yes.
Kinda.
Yes.
Did it remind you of that, and or did you have the same like nostalgic kind of feeling?
It did remind me of that. I didn't have nostalgia because I just was already on the path of whole new book. But I love when characters have their own thing.
Well, and you talked about this when we were doing the ACOTAR series, but like how Sarah J. Maas does such a great job at like writing in secret so you feel like you're the only one. Like, this is a similar feeling for me. Like, as the reader, we're the only one who knows that they're thinking these things. That's why I love the dragon bond too. Yeah. Is she's the only one who can talk to her dragons. I will say one thing I didn't love about the dragon bond, and I think it's not the dragon bond, it's just the book. And I think it's because it was just kind of cringy to me, was that they'll be talking to each other and then Violet would just be like, out loud, no context for anyone else, just be like, stop. Or, you know what I mean? Like, something like, say something, and then everyone's like, who are you talking to, or whatever, and she's like, I'm so sorry. You know, like, whatever.
I think it's just because she's still a newbie.
Like, 100%. I'm just saying, like, it made me cringe reading it, because I'm thinking about, like, if we were just, like, shooting the breeze, we had someone else with us, and I'm talking to them, and all of a sudden, you're just over here and being like, I didn't say that! I'd be like, what? Are you okay? Blink twice if you're hearing things. Like, I don't know. And this isn't reality. I think they probably obviously would think that she's talking to her dragon.
Different with this book for me that I noticed and I really liked it is she'll have conversations, and in the middle of those conversations he's having conversations with Tairn. So you have to like, for me, I had to go back and read what was the original question that she's saying out loud, and then here's what Tairn said, and then she's talking to him. So it was a little confusing, but really fun to navigate through. Yeah. It didn't confuse me, but I did like that too, where it's like multiple things happening at once. Yeah. But again, we're the only one. Us and Violet and Tairn are the only ones who know they're happening at once. So our own inner circle, if you will, kind of secrets. All right. So then now moving forward, Xaden is being a lot more forthcoming with his feelings. I mean, like, then after the attack, the 2 days later, she shows up at the office because she wants to know if her sister's alive or not. That was sad. And he's just there and he goes, I can't remember exactly what he says, but he says something like, I hate that I'm always thinking about you. Like, I just feel like then this is when he starts not reciprocating, but he's mad that he is feeling this way. But I like that we at least are starting to like hear those thoughts a little bit more. But I was here for it. Because then, I mean, I read books for the romance. Yeah. Everything else is bonus. But this is, I read. The dragons, the war, the college bonus. Great. But the romance is I'm here for the romance. No, I agree. Do you, I guess we kind of already, like, talked about this, but do you like you wish that the slow burn had been even slower? Or do you, I do wish it was slower. Yeah. I mean, we talked about this in depth. But... yeah. I like that they also do you want it to be faster? Or? No. Yeah. I liked that it was slow. Like because, again, I'm long game, baby. I like that this is going to be a span over 4 books. I don't want anything to be rushed, because if something's going to be rushed, then that means extra things are going to be included. That's going to ruin it. Yeah. So I don't like a ton of fluff. I'm a fickle reader. It's a very fine balance. I don't want a lot of fluff, but I also don't want things to happen too quickly.
But back to him being at like the outside of the office. I like that he brought her coffee. I feel like there's a lot of things about this book that felt normal. Yeah. Like, they drink coffee. Yeah. They don't drink coffee.
He's so honest. I don't remember that.
Yeah, he came up.
I know he comforted her and like.
Well, he came and he was waiting with her before Dane got there.
Oh, wasn't Liam there and said like, oh,
nope, it was just the three of them. It was.
I'm so off. Okay.
Xaden, Violet, and Dane waiting outside of the professor's office to know like what the report came back.
Yeah.
But he brought her coffee. He had him one for himself and one for her, and it was just like. Just a casual like comment, and he just walked up and just handed it to her and was just doing his thing. I'm like, oh, it was a normal thing. I like that we're in this like dragon war college. That's not normal, but the coffee is normal, and it's the gesture. Someone could bring me coffee. My husband does this podcast, so he could bring me coffee if he wanted. Okay. I was so happy when Violet was able to finally harness her signet, because she's the last one, the only one so far that wasn't able to, and take down freaking Jack Barlow.
Yes.
What did you think of this part of the book? He stabbed or sliced Liam.
Yes.
And Liam was falling.
Oh, I loved that they were able to use she was able to use Indarna's power for this. I love anytime she uses Indarna's power because it's such a, again, we actually, inner circle
we didn't even talk about that, I don't think, during the...
You should have read the book. If you didn't...
I would imagine everyone's read the book.
But, like, I love that we as the inner circle are the only ones that know that Indarna gave Violet all her power. Yeah. And so she can wield it as she wants. And I love that she asks Indarna every single time, is it okay? Yeah. Like, can I do this? Because it takes so much out of the dragon. Yeah. So I love that she was able to use it for the first time on her own accord. And yeah, it was the first time. Yeah. And,
it was, first time she asked to use it. Yeah.
And she saved Liam. It was so sweet. And then you see this real, like, rage, like, red rage out of her, which I loved again. And then finally... she was going to self-sacrifice because she thought she was going to explode from the power. Yeah. Which was
And she's like, that's fine as long as they save Liam.
Yeah. So she's like, get me real close. And then we found out she has a lightning
She's a lightning wielder.
She's a lightning wielder. She smacks the tower.
This is like one of the things. This is like blaringly obvious, I think. I knew that she was going to have some crazy signet. Yeah. I mean, they kind of imply it because of who her dragon is.
Did you like her signet?
I didn't expect. It was a little underwhelming for me.
It was.
But here's why. Yeah. I'm not there. I don't know. Like, they hadn't. I think if we had.
Did you ever watch X-Men growing up?
Not really. But let me finish really quick because I'm gonna lose my thought if I don't say it. I think maybe they had talked about all the different kinds. They did briefly. They just said like water, fire, wind are like the most common. That made me think of airbenders. Mm-hmm. But like I wish they had kind of explained maybe even like the rarity of others beforehand, because I think I would have understood. Like Xaden's is, they mentioned briefly that his is not common. Yeah. Or whatever.
Dane's
but like
is not common. Okay. Are you done?
Nope. Because to me, lightning and is like in the storm category, which is in the wind category. And so wind is also in that category. The fact like that felt it should be more common than how rare they're like, oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. Like, I think if it was either I wish they had not made fire, wind, and ice, water, whatever as common. Yeah. Then I would have been like, wow. Or I wish it was something else.
They were so creative with these signets, and I loved that the idea was every writer has an individual one based on the writer, based on the person and who they are at their core. I absolutely thought this was underwhelming because, and also they talk about like, oh, this hasn't been a signet for centuries. This is incredible. Yeah. They said that for almost every single one.
No, they didn't.
They said that for Dane's. They said that for Xaden's. They said that for one of the people in their group. I don't
remember them saying that about Dane's. I think
100%.
No. They just were saying it's a powerful one. Yeah. Not rare. It's a high security. Like he has to.
And Brennan's, they said the same thing. Literally everybody. They were like, no, Mender's, this is so rare.
It's uncommon, but they didn't say like we haven't seen one of these in centuries. They were just like, it's a more powerful one. Like if these are your signet, you're a powerful writer. It wasn't common. I'm not saying that you're wrong in that aspect, but it wasn't like because they had another mender. There was another mender in the healer quadrant. There were a couple, but it was not as common as the fire, the wind, whatever.
Sure.
But
I just felt like they were saying, like, it's not common and it's so rare and whatever.
I agree.
To every
I think
single one.
The fact
but
that
then with
all
Violet,
of them had,
like, I just didn't think hers was so cool. Like, even the mender, or what was Rhiannon's?
Well, that's what she could, like move
transport thing. Yeah.
And again, like, wow, that's such a strong one. Yeah.
That's a really helpful one.
Yeah.
I just thought the lightning was like exactly what she said, like, oh, I'm just a weapon, which was cool that she acknowledged, like, hey, I don't like this, but I think she can be really powerful, and I think it's going to play into the books really well in the future. But I didn't like it. But I do like that she has Indarna's too, so she can stop time as well.
Well, we don't know what that's going to look like.
Because once the Feathertail grows up, they might lose their power.
Yeah. So, I like that there's some mystery there. Again, 4 books.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. I do think that, and I agree, this is the same thing, back to A Court of Thorns and Roses. They talk about how rare mates are, but then all 3 of the sisters have one. Yeah. Same thing. They're like, oh my gosh, like all these signets, but then her best friend has an uncommon one. Dane has a high security uncommon one. Xaden's the only one that they know of. Like, she hasn't, centuries, there hasn't been one. Like, don't say something's uncommon if every main character is gonna have one. Yeah. Like, that's then just like maybe just Xaden and Dane and her, or just, I don't know. But yeah, I agree with that part a little bit. I don't know. It was just, lightning can be violent, pun intended. But it's just not as like, I don't know. Storms happen here, so I'm like, oh, it's a monsoon. Yeah. Like, it's not, I don't know.
Yeah. Also, I like that all the questions that we had, I like that they put them on the page. Like, can you
100%.
yield that inside, indoors?
That's true.
Like, you can't put clouds inside.
Yeah.
So.
That's true. Yeah. I do like that it was like, at least it was realistic.
Yeah. Very realistic for the lightning wielder.
Very realistic for how unrealistic the situation is. Okay. So then, chapter 30, they finally get together. Yeah. Finally. Thank the gods, they finally get together. And I love them together. I also, this is like a really like minor detail, but I love that she couldn't control her signet during. What were your thoughts on them? Like, now, what are your thoughts on them as a couple now that?
I really liked them together. Yeah. I love that they finally like sealed the deal with their relationship, but I
kind of TBD
would be so embarrassed if
I would be
freaking lightning was going on.
And not just that, like, I don't know, maybe I'm just shy, but like, if all of my furniture was broken, that was like, what else could have possibly happened in that room? If you
could have fought.
I guess I got attacked, but then like, that's gonna set off alarm bells on everyone, so you can't like,
it's nothing.
Lie about
it's nothing.
It's fine, I'm nothing. I'm not.
Yeah. No.
I don't know.
It was a lot.
Maybe that's just me being more embarrassed than I should, but that I was like, I just like the lightning aspect of it made me laugh. I thought that was funny because, again, as realistic as it could be in an unrealistic situation. Yeah. But I will admit, though, I already talked about that.
What'd you think about the letter Violet found from her dad in the folklore book?
Well, so I told you I was already skeptical about that. I already was like, just the folklore in general. So the fact that it's being brought up again. Yeah. I'm terrible at riddles. And I know this wasn't a riddle, but anytime there's anything like, this is, you can do it, Violet. I believe in you. You'll know when the time comes.
You're terrible at riddles?
Yes, I'm horrible at them.
Last night, my husband brought with us to, I'm not going to say your state, an Edgar Allan Poe riddle book.
And I didn't get one of them.
I don't know.
But we did a couple, and I literally would not have guessed any of them. Not one.
I thought you did answer some.
Nope.
Did you try?
I tried so hard. And I
put all my effort
nowhere.
into that.
That's just like, I don't think in riddles. Yeah. So I'm like, why couldn't you just be more straightforward?
It's very think outside the box situation.
But anyway, so with him saying this, I'm like, okay, it's cryptic, obviously, but I'm like, obviously it has something to do with the book because it's in this book. It was the one that he gave her, and it's not just a secret place. They've been hinting at the folklore thing for a while.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what I thought. I just thought that it was something that they were trying to like hide because they didn't want anyone to learn how to become venom and make the
you went that far?
Well, yeah, because I was already 100% on board with the fact that like the leadership government people are trying to hide this.
Yeah.
So that was whatever. So now I'm trying to figure out like, and the dad left a book about this, the note in this. So I was more like, I'm like, why are they hiding it? So I thought it was more of like they didn't want anyone to learn how to have those, and they're pretending like they're not real.
I had the same exact thoughts that I did before of just like, I'm sure this plays into the separatists and their rebellion being valid and Violet eventually joining. And I did think that we would find out that her dad had actually joined.
I thought that too.
And I don't know, and he was being very cryptic.
And I thought maybe,
but I don't know how
maybe
that
his
plays
heart didn't
into,
actually give out. Who knows? Maybe.
I don't know how that plays into like his relationship with the general, because according to Violet, like they truly loved each other. And so
But losing a kid changes you, and that's kind of that's when her mom started to be more general.
Yeah.
I mean, she always was, but
I was just really confused. But then again, I was like, I'm sure this will be explained later on, and it's not my job to solve this riddle. Yeah. So I read on.
True. Yeah. So I don't know. I was just thinking like, I was trying to think, where is this going? But I had no idea what he was trying to say, obviously, and I know you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
So. This is, again, I know I told you I loved how just straightforward. There was no miscommunication between their relationship. I loved during the reunification ceremony. I love that she just, like, laid it all out there for Xaden. And I like that they met and were talking on the parapet. I thought it was...
I loved the full circle back to the
exactly,
parapet.
bringing it back to the moment when they first saw each other.
Like, I'm not scared, and took off her shoes in a skirt, and it was windy, and she just was like, I'll meet you halfway. And that, you know, she goes like, oh, well, I could ask the same thing of you. Why are you out here? Because he freaked out when he saw her.
Exactly.
He's like, the shadows keep me up. And I was like, oh,
you're not wrong.
That does make sense.
You are a little bit more protected. Yeah. I get that.
That was so funny. But I love that she was like, I'm going to risk it all for love.
Yes, she does. She risks it all, literally and figuratively, because she is physically going out there, but she's also emotionally laying it out there.
That for Zeke sitting out there in the middle of the parapet?
Sure. I just feel like I'd be more likely to go out there in general. But totally. I like that she was just like, cut the crap. I know you like me too. Like, why? Just tell me why. Tell me why you won't. Yeah.
And then she forced it out of him, which was nice. Yeah. Nice to see. So
I figured, I knew this whole time just how he kept saying, you don't know me. If you really knew me, like you would love me, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I knew something. I figured something with the separatists.
Know from the beginning because he's out in the forest. So he's like doing some secret with them.
He's been meeting with all of them. Like I knew they were all up to something. I honestly thought though they were like trying to revive the rebellion.
The rebellion, yeah.
Which, I mean, TBD, there's 4 more books. But I wasn't expecting them to be working with the Gryphons. And what are they? They're not riders. They're
flyers.
Flyers. Thank you.
Yeah. Honestly, the Gryphons are not an intimidating situation for me.
I agree.
They can't wield fire. They fly. They're tinier.
Yeah, they're smaller. They can't wield fire. I'm like, how are these the dragon's enemies?
Okay, but
they're not actually.
Here's like genuinely my biggest question is, we're in this part now, so we'll talk about the war. Yeah. So it's revealed that Xaden's working with.
He's giving them weapons
to fight I called them Nevins.
No, you called them Nevils.
Nevils. Venom.
The Venom.
Because it turns out they're real. Yeah. Violet hears all this. It's all a big shock. But, okay, so the Gryphons and their flyers are actually good guys in a sense that, they're trying to protect the civilians from the Venom. Yeah. But when they were out at, where was Mira? What's that place? Montserrat?
Yeah,
like that?
Montserrat.
When they were there, the Gryphons were coming in, and they're like, we gotta fight him right now. Why?
The Gryphons are because remember, even in the battle brief, they're talking about they're looking for something. What do we think they're looking for? Yeah. They're trying to get because the Navarre, they have the weapons that will kill.
Oh, so they were there for weapons?
Yeah, that's why Xaden was giving them weapons.
I recognize he's giving them weapons. I just did
so
not
that's
recognize...
what they're breaking in. They're risking their lives to get the weapons
from Montserrat.
From
okay.
Naveen. Princess and the Frog. From Navarre,
yeah.
so that they can go and then defend and actually kill the wyvern and the venom.
I get that. I just didn't understand why. Like, it seemed like the Griffins were coming in to attack.
Well, that's how they were making it seem.
That makes sense. I did not think...
They're not...
I did not think that Navarre could possibly lie. So I was like, I don't get why they're attacking if they're trying to save.
So I'm still TBD, and at the end of this, I want us to talk Iron Flame theories, because we haven't read it yet. I know it's out now, but I just don't trust anything that her mom says, or General Melgren, like any of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm wondering if they actually knew that they weren't attacking,
mm-hmm.
but by telling everyone, hey, they're not attacking, they're just looking for stuff, that would involve explaining that they know what's going on.
Well, they have to pinpoint
and they have to pretend like they're
on
not
something, and they don't want to reveal the venom, so they have to be like, okay, well, what's the next closest enemy?
And it's like,
Gryphon
they're
Rider.
attacking. Yeah. So I have a feeling, like, obviously all the Dragon Riders, they've been told these are our enemies. Yeah. They're attacking us. They're coming for us.
Again, I say the dragons knew what was up. Like, Tairn was like,
I was
trying to keep this from Violet. But so then why did they need Violet to fight off? Well, I guess venom they don't get burned. So
they can't. Yeah, the only way to kill them is
for the actual attack.
Even more so, like, even like more basic thought process than that. If the dragons know, why are they letting their riders attack them and kill the Gryphon if they know, like, hey, they're not actually attacking you?
Plot holes. That's
the only thing. I'm hoping that we get some answers on that, because to me, that's the biggest plot hole in this entire book. Because you're right, Tairn knew this whole time. The dragons
don't play by the rules of the humans. You're so right. I didn't think about that. The dragons don't play by the rules of the humans. Why aren't they being like, hey, we need to attack this situation?
Actually, these aren't the bad guys. Your government's lying to you.
Answer us, Rebecca. What is this?
Or Jennifer. Context, last episode, I accidentally called her Jennifer, so we have a pretend Jennifer that we're talking to. Okay, so you said you trusted Navarre, though, so you weren't thinking that the government was being shady. I don't trust anyone anymore.
Now I don't trust Navarre. Now we know what's going on. And I love that Violet was like, give me 10 seconds to think about this. I'm in. And just like turned against everything and everyone.
Well, and I know that it was all their choice and stuff. I got so sad, though, that Liam died. I'm like, they could have killed off some of the other ones, but keep Liam. But I get it. There had to be someone that was the emotion.
Plane.
Oh, Ellie,
and I can't even tell you.
This is the plane.
Broke. Yeah. I was so upset. I didn't cry because I was scared mostly of being in the air. But I was so bummed. So I had actually, on accident, I wasn't searching. But, you know, being in the Bookstagram world, you see pictures and things and whatever. So I saw like a fan art of Liam, and I thought I had seen something like, some Iron Flame in Liam. So I was like, can't wait to read about him in the next book. So this really took me by surprise. I was like, okay, but when did they revive him?
You know what I bet?
Okay, but when did they revive him? When did they revive him?
Which, I mean, I guess probably not. Yeah. But I bet you saw Flame Section Liam.
Maybe.
Because they were in the second squad Flame Section of Fourth Wing.
Honestly, it could have been anything. I don't know, but I devastated. Because he was my favorite.
I know.
My favorite.
Yeah. I was so sad. Because I think what was saddest for me, though, was that, okay, obviously he died, but it was the fact that the dragon died, and that's what killed him.
And Violet even said, like, this perfectly healthy guy standing right in front of me.
But he's dying.
I do wish they could have pulled on my heartstrings a little bit more with that if they explained... If they let us into Liam and Day's relationship at all. They didn't have to let us into their minds of what they're talking about, but just talked about like how much he loved his dragon, talked about his dragon.
Well, I mean, I feel like that's kind of implied.
No, it's implied, but she needed more.
I didn't need that.
For my perfect book,
I didn't
need a more personal relationship to really like hone in why like it was so devastating.
I didn't need that because I knew how the relationship between like Tairn and Darna and Violet, and I understood the relationship between like Sigel and Xaden.
But
so
again, they
I'm
didn't
projecting.
Have a good. I didn't feel like the bond was so strong with Violet and Tairn yet. Like, again, they're just arguing and bickering back and forth. The one thing that was so sweet, though, we didn't talk about this. When she goes out to train with Professor Carr and she's creeped out by him and she's like, he took me above the trees like an hour away. Yeah. And she says to Tairn, like, don't leave me.
Yeah.
That sealed a little bit more of the bond for me. I was like, that is so precious. And he's like,
I would never.
Yeah. I would burn him alive before he takes a step towards you.
Here's another, like, sure, he's grumpy, and I think that's kind of part of, like, even the humor in the book, but he was willing to have a saddle for her. And I mean, there's so many subtle things that really proved how strong their relationship was.
Just even, like, dipping his arm and his shoulders so she can get up.
That's what I'm saying.
It's very sweet. I'm a verbal affirmation person. Oh, yeah. It is what it is. I would have loved to hear their conversations be more deep and like open up to each other and trust each other and build on this relationship rather than it's just been like snarky from the beginning. Also, one thing to say. Violet and Xaden make me mad sometimes. Not Xaden, more Violet. Because every time he does put in an effort, she's like, why are you talking to me? But it's like a flirty, mean thing. No, read the book again. Every time he's like flirty with her, other than her wanting to profess her relationship, her way of flirting is being mean, and it annoys the crap out of me.
I disagree. Here's why. I think it's because he doesn't ever choose to flirt until after he's ignored her or something. So it's more of like oh, okay, so now you're going to do this?
Well, he'll like give her something and she'll be like, did I ask for this? And I'm like,
yeah, but
she's like the girl that's like, you're stupid, and like laughs and walks away. Like,
I think it was the poor timing on whenever Xaden would try to do something like that.
It says pick just, like, me to me. It's that girl that's like, I don't want it. I don't know.
No, it is absolutely not pick me.
It gives that for me.
Well, that's just
sometimes, not overall, but just sometimes when she's like, I didn't say I needed this. Did I ask you the question? Like,
yeah,
chill.
Well, okay, so then Violet's stabbed by the venom. Did you think that she was going to die?
No, because there's another book that released this week.
I know. I
was curious why her blood turned black, though.
That's, okay, so let me rephrase this question. Did you think there was going to be long-term effects from this? Okay. I didn't know if it was like, I don't know if it was something where like we didn't know the poison, it could like mess with her signet or something.
Oh.
I'm thinking
maybe.
like.
Yeah. No, I didn't think that.
Did you expect her brother to be alive? Because I did. I'm not going to lie.
You did?
100%. Here's the thing.
I feel like that's a prediction. That's crazy.
There's two reasons. One, Taylor guessed it. So I'm like, well, Taylor's probably right.
Yeah.
Two, there's one line in the book that I was like, ooh, it was like in the middle and it even felt like insignificant if you weren't looking for stuff like I was. But there's one part where she says something like, yeah, because you have me sing Xaden's dad killed my brother. And then it goes, at least that's what's recorded. It says that right out. Like, at least that's what was reported. So I'm like, ooh, they're opening the door to reference back to this to say he's not actually dead. So from that moment on, but I didn't think that would happen in this book. That was one of my predictions for Iron Flame.
So that makes me so sad because they talk a lot about how basically the dad died from like a broken heart because once the brother died, like he was devastated.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
I know.
Maybe like he should still be alive.
Now I want to talk Iron Flame theories now since these are, I don't know what's going to happen.
Okay.
Here's one of my theories. The mom knew he was alive.
I think she does. Absolutely.
Yeah. And
I think she doesn't want to even mention it or say that he's alive because he turned against them.
Exactly. Because
he's dead to me.
So I still don't know.
I don't think Mira knows.
Mira does not know. Absolutely not. My other theory is Mira's going to die. Well, okay. I'm hesitant on saying that. But here's why I think she's going to die, though. I think she's going to have a really hard time separating her loyalty from Navarre with her relationship with Violet. I think it's going to come down to a point where she realizes Violet's working with them and and Violet's going to be like, listen, you don't understand. Mom's hasn't told us all these things. Like, venom are real. Why? Like, they're all like, this is a thing. And she's going to be so conflicted because she loves Violet so much and she I don't even know
if. But then all her training and everything.
But her entire life she's been told one thing, so she's gonna be like she's gonna think Xaden corrupted her instead of believing that it's true. So they're gonna. I don't think they're gonna fight directly, but I think she's gonna stay on Navarre's side and end up dying in a battle.
I actually don't think so. I think her love, like, she's proven time. Now, yes, she has worked her whole life and been told all these things her whole life, but her love for Violet, which she's proved time and time again, is like takes precedence. I feel like I think she is going to end up switching teams and fight with Violet, but then maybe I could see her dying.
Okay.
Like that.
I could see that too.
Do you think they go back to Biscayeth after that?
I don't think so. I don't think. Well, they're not. They end in the capital city where that was burned.
I know they end there. I know they say that, like, oh, we have to take her back, but I know that they also said, like, well, Biscayeth's 12 hours away. So I'm curious if they can go back.
Well, I think it wasn't even on their radar. I can't remember how to say the city that they're in.
I don't remember. It starts with an A.
Yeah, but they were saying, like, that's where the healers were, is Biscayeth. Yeah. So that's why it's like naturally you would think.
It was an option because they said we'll take her back to Nolan, and they're like, it's too far, she'll die. That was the only reason, not because we're traitors now and they know it.
Well, no, because Nolan's a mender. So that's why
they're like... It doesn't matter though, but he's at Biscayeth, and that was an option for them. But they just said it was too far.
Well, but yes, I'm just saying I think the only reason it was an option is because he's there, and like none of them are, even though Brennan is also a mender and he was closer.
Yeah.
It wasn't the only reason everyone was telling Xaden, you can't do this because there's going to blow up the secret. Like, but he was like, love trumps everything at the end.
Yeah.
But that's why like none of them initially thought to go to this city. And I don't think it was like, oh, we're going to make it back at some point. I think the only reason they were in too deep at this point, the only reason they were even considering it is because that's just where Nolan was.
Dane's like, I think that was supposed to be the twist. A lot of people talk about, like, there's a big twist in the end. I think that was supposed to be it.
How Dane gave him up.
Yeah, because he was doing that to Violet, which was that was mouth dropping.
I also absolutely saw that coming because once he said, I just have to touch someone's head, the fact that he kept touching Violet's cheek and pretending to be endearing,
it went past me.
I don't think he even cared really at all. I think it's the second that she was now then bonded with Xaden, I know that leadership still didn't trust Xaden. And so he was like, well,
set to like
put me in coach. I can not even set to guard her. I think he did care about her as a friend.
Gather intel and see what Xaden was doing.
Because again, they hone in that he cares more than anything about the codex,
the rules,
aka Navarre, like he wants to do, and he wants to advance as much as he can. His dad is her mom's assistant,
and everyone knows
or whatever.
He wants to be a wing leader.
Yes. So he's like, what can I do to further myself, even if that means I have to step on the people I love.
What a dirty guy.
So he wasn't as much of a villain as I expected him to be in this book because I was thinking he was a Tamlin.
I see them building that a lot more.
100%. I think those were the only theories that I had because, like I said, I'm not the best at them. But all right, well, that's all we have for Fourth Wing.
Yes.
Genuinely one of like my favorite books. I loved it so much. I loved it so much. And I knew I was going to like it just because if they're like, well, if you like ACOTAR, you're going to like this one.
Yeah.
But it was so much better than I was expecting.
Yeah, it was better than I was expecting. I don't think a lot of books would hold a candle to ACOTAR, but this one was really good.
This one shines pretty bright.
Yeah. All right.
So don't like our stuff.
Say don't like.
I was gonna say don't forget. I was gonna say don't forget.
Don't forget and do like our stuff.
Subscribe on YouTube if you have one. If you do that, follow us on Instagram. Listen, Apple, Spotify. Leave us a review. 5 stars, please, if you like it.
If you like it.
And have a great week. See you next week.
Bye.